these faces, Ekalahui, I think you know them. I hope you know them because these are the champions, the heroes, the Kupua Kiao that have brought us to this stage of consciousness that we are today. Um, Nalila, I sit here with humility on this papahana and before them because if it wasn't for them and the efforts that they put in the 70s, 80s, 90s to today, uh, we wouldn't, I don't know, I wouldn't be sitting here. That's for sure. So mahalo nui, nui pu'ualoha ia oko paka ia pau. Kauka, Emmett Aluli, we all know him as one of the first 9 on Kaho'olawe, longtime Protect Kaho'olawe Ohana member, founding member Ho'i, and of course the one who put his name to the lawsuit to sue the Navy and get us access to Kaho'olawe, put it all on the line in that way for us. Is Emmett Aluli in his office on Molokai in between patients, I'm sure. And then we have the one and only Skippy Iwane, long time, forever Kanaka. We haven't shared much time together and space together, but then your name is legend, and it's because of your action and what you have done for Lahui. Emmett and Skippy were both original Mo'olono who were trained to start our practice, and that's why they're here today. Because really, what we're talking about today is the starting of Makahiki on Kaho'olawe, and because we're coming into our 40th year on Kaho'olawe, so it's the efforts of people like Emmett Aluli and Skippy Iwane and others, many others, as they'll talk to, that we have Makahiki on Kaho'olawe and essentially Makahiki throughout the Pai'aina, the archipelago. Mahalo nui. And people like Emmett Aluli, Skippy Iwane, and of course the other panelists, these are the kind of people that when it comes time to step up and put it all on the line, they step up. Mauna Kea was happening, and they was right there, frontliners. So aloha nui, oko. We'll start with Kauka Emmett. And what was it? I guess my question is really, what was it like then, really? It's like for people like yourself and Skippy, you guys took a leap of faith into doing this, getting involved with Kaho'olawe first, and then starting Makahiki on Kaho'olawe. I wanted you guys to talk around that. What were you guys thinking? What were some of the highlights, perhaps, of those days and stuff?
Just a little background. We were kind of like in negotiations, settling our consent decree, and the Navy had only one other site, a bombing target that they had allowed Native Americans in South California to go in twice a year. And they chose Christmas and another kind of like national holiday to go in for their healing springs, to be able to get into the springs, China Lake, they called it, for healing. And so that set a precedent for us. We were kind of looking at the First Amendment Act, and later on the Navy got rid of that and allowed access to their properties for religious purposes in another directive. So they came to us and said, when do you need to go to Kaho'olawe? When's your Christmas? When's your Easter? Or whatever other kind of like holiday that they anticipated us choosing. We had gone to Auntie Edith Kanakaole and asked her the same question. And right off she said, establish a Makahiki. You need to go there to call the God Lord and have him help green the island. And that was all what George Helm was talking to us about. in his genealogy, Lono Ika Makahiki is one of his forebearers, one of his ancestors. So it was kind of natural. Um, then I went to Nalani Kanakaole. She had been camping with their halau in Kona. And well, didn't have to persuade her, but she had to think about helping us establish the protocol and the Makahiki on Ko'olawe. Um, Both the and Edith and Nalani had a great relationship with um, George Helm, and so it was just kind of like continuing his legacy that he had disappeared or died for, and that was just a natural beginning. It was kind of like difficult for us because none of us guys had ever worn a malo or even chanted. Um, so Nalani had two workshops on Maui to gather with us to kind of start teaching us. And then when we picked the date in 81, Nalani brought her halau to kind of help us prepare for the ceremonies. Um, it was difficult because it was quite, you remember, Skippy, was quite a awesome night. It was raining, it was kind of windy, and you know, although we had gone in February 2076 to ask permission from the Ohane that were on Ko'olawe that we would come and be welcomed, it seemed that there was really a resistance somewhere. But anyway, it was kind of like a really enlightening ho'okupu offering, procession, um, and just really kind of like bringing home the fact that we were calling Lono's winds to bring the clouds, to bring the rain, to green the island, to raise the water table. And at the same time, to green ourselves as we continue these practices. So that's what it meant way back when. At that time, we knew that once you start feeding the akua, you needed to continue. And so the commitment at that time was 5 years for our original kind of like mo'olonos. And we pretty well carried that out. And that's me just thinking back and just kind of looking at how that has really helped us as Ohana to focus and to work together and to kind of like really um, get into those ceremonies that really call our deities, our nature deities, our major gods and minor gods to come and kokua us and to make our work in greening the island successful. Mahalo.
Our other esteemed panelist is join us this morning, Anake Nalani Kanakaole, um, world renowned for sure, Kumuhula. No laila, aloha no oi Anake, mahalo ko hiki ana mai I ki ala. And joining in on this conversation about the beginning, the kinohi hoi of Makahiki ma kaho olave. Um, I wanted to start the conversation off with you really because I think as as Emmett pointed out in his brief presentation there, it really the Makahiki really began with the Ohana having a need to start ceremony and turning to your mother and to Edith Kanakole to get these ceremonies started and well, which ceremony you wanted to do and such. And then of course as the mo'olelo goes, it was tag you got it. So no you ho'okuleana ia oi. Noka for establishing our Makahiki. So yeah, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about those years, and yeah.
Well, I remember the first conversation that George had with my mom, and my mom just started out at the Hilo College, in the very early days, in the maybe it was 75, 76, but they talked a lot about how they would approach the greening of kaho'olawe. And my mom suggested that Lono Ika Makahiki would actually be not a more promising akua to establish there at Kaho'olawe. So they had a really long conversation. This took, I remember him coming 2 years to talk to my mom about this. And she was probably in her early 60s, but they had very long conversations on how they would approach Lono Ika Makahiki. But after those conversations, he was convinced that he could take it back to his friends and his people at that time to discuss it. There was a lot of resistance, but what I think it brought it together in the early years as far as how they would do Lono. It was a hard convince to do the water system. I guess because it wasn't glamorous at the time. I have no idea, but I know that it took a while for my mom to really establish that. But I think one of the examples was the E's, who owned land that became national park territory. But what it was that they wanted to establish practice of always going to their ko'a. And I think that sort of brought back a lot of things, because the E's wanted to establish this to go for, generations. And this is how the establishment of the Kalapana-based ohanas would go on lands that were federal to hunt or to go and fish or to go and practice their religious practices on the land. And this is what my mom told him. So this is how he sort of came up with the kind of concept that, this kind, family kind, everyday practice to Lono or to the fishing ko'a. This kind of establishment would be good for us right now. And that's how he did it.
Nani. Yeah, so what you're saying is a connection of multiple places that were looking for access, and
Right.
really a strategy to
Right.
regain access to lands and such. And your mother was involved in that process on the ceremonial side. Oh, nice.
From the ceremonial side. And then so because her family also did ceremony at the crater, So there was that kind of pull.
So really sort of utilizing that Native American religious act to
Correct.
to
Correct.
to reestablish our engagement on Aina, and that's essentially that's how we get Makahiki on Kaho'olawe.
That's true.
And that's how we get the consent decree, and that's how we get access, and that's how we can just go now today, because all of this hana that people like yourselves, the panelists here, have done. Mahalo nui for that. So yeah, can you Keolo, talk to those first years, getting the training for Bimolono, what it was like, and then those kinds of things.
At the time came in life, I came out of Vietnam. My perspective of honesty and the truth will change. And at 6th grade, now let me tell you, now this is very a crossroad in my life. At 6th grade, I got kicked out of Altar Boy, Catholic Church, Kyoka, married the whole of heaven, Malia Puka Okalani. They kicked me out for crimes against Jesus. Anyway, all of these things when conspire to put into me a heavy distrust of all of these things that came over with Crositomo Columbus and Kapena Cook. Anything they would bring was subject to fraud. And that was before I met Emmett and the PKO. I was already battling against the empire on my own. And from the criminal activity that I used against the 58th state, the county, wherever I could go get. If the state had them, I go steal them. The county had them, I go get them. Now, this kind of attitude that I had was already counter to the Americans, what they brought with the Bible. All of these things came together, the Bible and Captain Cook and Chrysostomo Columbus. So, all of these things already I had in me was rebelling against the normal. Because these are the things that have been hold us down. And later on, I would come to realize the old Hawaiian saying, in order for the forest to be green, the trees got to be green. You can make believe the forest green, but like the rod, if the one by one, the tree market, the forest market. So by the time I came back Big Island, because my grandfather was going blind, I met my cousin Kaliko again, and then he was going Kaho'olawe. So that's how I met Emmett and the whole gang. Then when they was going to do this Makahiki, with my cousin them, they was talking about the god Lono. Now I only heard the 4 gods, but I never know, like all my life we only go Meko Okupu, You throw net, you throw 2 fish back. You give back to the earth. So when I met all of these soldiers from every island, they all had the same intense, desire to cut the chains. They wanted to buckle loose, get away from living under the hoof of the evil empire. And so when Emito and the Kanakoles, they thought of this revival of the Akua Lono. Well, of course, we was all in, but we had to wear malo. So for wear malo, And then we had to go bathe in the ocean for 1 hour. Wait for sunlight, and it was cold. But, we figure, but then later on I go find out that it's just like how the Christians go, Catholics go confession. When you go Huai, you go back to the first sound. Po is the first sound. You go back to quiet. When you hit quiet, you can talk story. That's why now this stage in my life, I prefer not to talk to humans. That's why I had to come out of the forest to come home over here. But anyway, when we went to the Kaho'olawe, the whole object was to reconnect, because if you walk on the streets today, a lot of the Hawaiian people, they're unconnected. They're unconnected. They're connected to methamphetamines and whatever else excuses they can use to remain in the pakini and be almost chasing each other. They prefer to remain there unconnected than to make the effort to recognize the lies that we've been living under. And then that's what the opportunity created itself with the Makahiki Festival in Kaho'olawe. So after that, what do you call baptismal? I brought that. We brought that back to the Big Island, and it's still going now. My daughter, my daughter is carrying on. Because now I'm coming old. I don't can hop by the God as fast. And like before days, the Wa'aolono. They never know. The guys told me go get the ulu tree. But I never know you got to use the center. I was going to just get on regular log and cut them.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
forget the size of the center of the log, of the wa'a. The tree, humongous. And Big Island, that kind of size tree, you got to go down in the valley. I tie rope to the truck and go down. But all of these learning experiences was the disciplines that connect Hima and us. We know more that ma'a now. We become moloa. In that, for ma'a the aina, it takes effort, dedication, and commitment.
Aye.
And the thing that we've lost to me, that the Lono we hope would bring back, is paying attention to the cycles of the Mother Earth. Because we as little ants upon this planet, we move by her sway. If the earth fought, we got to hold our nose.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So all of these things that we've lost connection to the great green goddess, and that the Lono brought back to a large degree. But the battle is far from over. Because if you look at Makiwai na po e kanaka, Makiwai lako, ale lako ike kanani o kaina, Makiwai lako. So if they cannot see the beauty of Aumara, they die in a thirst. And we had hope, like my cousin Alani said, that the hope to bring the waters back, the physical water and the spiritual water, to the plants. And we is Napua, we plants. Napua kaulana mako. So no lela u makiwai mako alewai. So that water that Emmett and Alani speak of was very important for our reconnection again. We had to bring them back to the desert, which is the Hawaiian people. Kaolabe has its place, but the people die in a thirst. Out of place. So Mo'olono, we're supposed to we just what do you call it? Peter, Paul, and Jacob and John, apostles. Same like the apostles. We had to leave Kaho'olawe and go to the desert we call Kalahui, Hawaii, and re-water these buggers. Because the forest dying, because the tree dying. So that what the Kaho'olawe Makahiki had inspired in me, and we're still doing it today. But I tell you, the work is far from done, because the other trees in the forest, they resist. And you ask Emmett, tell him now, when the Catholics, my grandmother, Catholic church, the Catholics, the kupuna from Kiaukaha, would call us in. Me, Kaliko, Emmett, I don't know if Palikapu was there. But the old ladies yell at me. Kupuna. Good scolding I had. Over 1 hour they give me scolding. Emmett, you remember? I got dirty scolding.
Aye.
But I never care. Not that I never care, but I would not be dissuaded from, instead of going to the light, I was going to the dark. Ho'i kapo.
Ho'i kapo.
Yeah, going to the pole, the first sound is quiet. Then for us today, the battle, I don't like lying to nobody. The battle not over. And to me, the first victory you can get is in your soul. But once you know, you can, in the morning you wake up, you hear the bird singing, that's your family. You look the nani o kanahele, that's your family. That's how I pull it. I smell the flower, I jump in the water. All these things that conspire to blind us, step by step, we got to unshackle ourselves. And that's what the Makahiki, we hope, inspires in the generations to come. Okay, I pause.
Nani Maoli. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about maybe, what you've seen in the early years, and then and then look what you saw in 2016 closing when you came, and if you had some mana'o there, yeah.
Okay, when I came in 2016, I was totally impressed with how Hakio Aba looked as a bay, Ahupua wise. It looked like it has grown into something that would nourish the practice. And the practice, that's what most impressed me, was how timeless the practice of Lonoika Makahiki looked at that 2016 time. I was also impressed that there's still that kind of inspiration that comes with going to Kaho'olawe. It still inspires my students to go there. Sort of like every once in a while, just to participate in that. To me, it's the longest practice we have going as far as Lono is concerned. We as Kanaka. Yeah. Beautiful.
Can you show that one picture? The circle picture.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's Hoku, it's Buster, it's Kamuela,
Oh yeah.
and Wilma Holy, and Kayana, going all the way around. His John Smith, his Skippy, his Palikapu, his Moani, his Colette, Wilma Jardine. So there's that circle. Malia Fanene, and there's others. And here's, I think, Skippy's brother, huh?
Wait a second.
Anyway, that's the group. That's the group, Uncle Les, and we left that space open, yeah.
Yeah.
The space is open for whom?
Whoever's going to join us.
Yeah.
And that was kind of some of the steps we started doing at the Makahikis, where we would brag about our works in the grassroots kind of areas. And that's when Kahua kind of like came up.
Yes,
Pele and geothermal came up. And all the other Aloha Aina issues that have been kind of like greening our success until now, Manakea and over and beyond. It was just really the Ha'iolelos, we called it. We would all gather and we'd talk all night, and then we'd strategize on how to make those successful movements throughout the island.
But mahalo nui to all the hana that really established the practice. So without the efforts of you, Anake Nalani, and your mother, Anake Edith, and your family, just the whole ohana, and as well as George Helm and Eme Luli and the Skippy Wanes and stuff that really laid the path there for us, is a lot of us wouldn't be who we are today without it. And I can think of contemporaries in our time now, and our time now, is that really are benefiting from those efforts and that vision that was had back in the 70s and stuff. And of course, mahalo to those who kept the torch, kept the fire burning before that, right? Before your mom, before her mom, before her mom's mom and stuff, so that we could have a little bit of fire to start a blaze today.